there's smoke in the city. Vendors fighting, threats of violence, banned from a convention. Oh yes, my dudes. There's drama brewing in the HorrorCon community. So what's the sitch? Where's the tea? Who do we crucify and shame into oblivion? Well, you can put those pitchforks down, douse those tiki torches, and put away your weasel stomping boots, because for the most part, this drama is sitting in neutral at the moment. So, to catch you up to speed, in case you missed it, two vendors got into it at Horror Hounds Indianapolis back in August, which of course led to a lot of yelling, threats of violence against minors, a banning from a completely different convention, and lots of online harassment. Now, I should preface this by saying that the original post, the one detailing all the crimes, allegations, and machinations of this sordid affair, which was originally posted on Facebook, has been quietly deleted by the author of the post, Don't Eat the Gum. And I'll get into who that is a little later. Now, that's not to say it totally negates the validity of the claims of the vendors and the witnesses backing up the testimony of the alleged victims, but it does smell a bit like some sort of litigation is happening on the back end. So to cover my own ass here, I will try my best to censor any personal info as best I can. But don't take my word for it, I'm not a lawyer. But as you will see, it's hard. Especially when one side involved in this kerfuffle uses their real God-given name for their business is, plural. I'm not trying to dox anybody here, but what am I supposed to do when your Etsy store name is the same name that's on your driver's license? Kind of paints me into a corner, you know? But before we get into this, let's first set up our actors in this sordid little drama. Yo, let her play a play. First up, and the main protag in this epic duel, is Jimmy, owner and proprietor of Wacky Wicks, a novelty candy company selling prayer candles with pop culture icons and the like on the front. I'll link his store below. Second, Violet Lazar and Joel Robinson, owner and proprietor of Violet Lazar and Joel Robinson Art, respectively, are seemingly antags and instigators of the scuffle. Third up, Don't Eat the Gum, a separate company and friend of Wacky Wicks, made the original Facebook post where this initial drama was brought to light. Wasn't directly involved in the happenings at HorrorCon, but it acts like a character witness for Wacky Wicks, and his initial mouthpiece. Last and not least, Scarefest Weekend, a second convention that decided to step into the shit on the behest of VL and JR. Oh, I'm going to abbreviate Violet Lazar and Joel Robinson's name and just go by their initials because I say their names a lot. And yeah.
Let's get it on!
So back in August of this year, Wacky Wicks and VLJR were neighbors at Horror Hound Indianapolis, a horror convention that's held in Indianapolis. Not to be confused with Horror Hound Cincinnati, which is held in Cincinnati. So at Horror Hound Indianapolis, the back of their booths were butted up against each other with the front of their booths facing out to opposite aisles. Interestingly enough, they were also neighbors at Horror Hound Cincinnati back in May, this time being next to each other, only separated by a hallway. It kind of makes me think that maybe something happened there at Horror Hound Cincinnati and it spilt over to Horror Hound Indianapolis, but that's just pure speculation on my part. So on Sunday, August 20th, 2023, while everyone was setting up their booths before guests were set to arrive, VL and JR's wire wall fell down, taking some of their merch with it. Jimmy's wife, owner of Wacky Wicks, was next to it when it fell, and she immediately stopped what she was doing to help VL put it back up, apologizing the whole time, with Jimmy rushing over to help as well. It should be noted that it's not actually clear if Jimmy's wife had anything to do with the wire wall falling down, as some picture evidence would suggest, originally posted by VL and JR, that their wire wall was put up with no support whatsoever. I mean, you guys are convention veterans. You make your whole living hawking your merch to countless rubes. You think you want to CYA because the last thing you want is that wall coming down and taking out one of your customers. Besides, how much does those feet cost? They can't be that expensive. They cost how much? Okay, never mind, I take it back. I get why you didn't get it. Well, I mean, maybe you can, like, put up a sign or something. You know, like, watch for falling racks or, like, yo, free concussion with a $20 purchase? I'd be stupid not to buy it. I'll take 30. Anywho, VL seemingly took offense to the dropping of her wall as she immediately called JR after it fell down and blamed the wall falling on that, quote, stupid bitch. Well, as you can imagine, the crew over at Wacky Wicks took particular umbrage with VL's choice of words and asked her not to call them that again. Especially after, they tried to help her out. Well, VL sorry wasn't good enough, and she decided she was gonna unleash her fury on Wacky Wicks' boost. What followed was verbal threats, harassment, and maybe even a little dash of battery mixed in for the shit pie VL and JR served up for lunch that day. There are reports of VL and JR threatening to kill Jimmy and his wife, while Jimmy's whole family was there that day, too. They apparently also shoved Wacky Wicks' merch off of his table, which hit Jimmy's older son, allegedly, and just general all-around douchebag behavior. And this didn't stop once the con eventually opened either. Oh no, my friends. Because according to Wacky Wicks, VL and JR kept up this behavior all day, with Horror Hound security having to be called over numerous times to intervene between these two vendors. And what, pray tell, did security do to remedy the situation? Banned them from the con, right? Or they must have at the very least kicked out VL and JR at the very, very least, right? Well, sort of. They just separated their booths by a foot. Pack it up, boys. Job well done. Mission accomplished. It's interesting to note that two different vendors also backed up Wacky Wicks' story on what happened on that Sunday morning, with Horror Hound security also pulling the security cameras for the time of the incident. While no footage has ever been released, as far as I know, Wacky Wicks was invited back to Horror Hound Indianapolis for the 2024 season, with no mention, as of yet, to either VL or JR being at this con. But that could change in the near future. Vendors are dropped and added all the time. So take that as you will.
Snitchin' is bitchin'.
So fast forward to October 17th. Wacky Wicks, by all accounts, had put the nastiness of Horror Hound Indianapolis behind them, and they were gearing up for another horror convention to sell their stuff at, Scarefest Weekend. Except Scarefest Weekend had other plans in mind. Wacky Wicks received an email from Scarefest telling them that, quote, due to an incident that took place with one of our long-standing contractors, end quote, Wacky Wicks was being removed from the event, and of course, they decided to tell them 3 days before the con was set to start. So months after the initial confrontation, it seems like VL and JR had Wacky Wicks pulled from Scarefest. So not only was Wacky Wicks out of the table at the convention, he also lost out on hotel reservations, which he did eventually get back, time off of work, and not to mention the money and materials he put into his merchandise he was going to sell at this con. Oh, right, and, the thousands of dollars of lost revenue, all because of the petty actions of VL and JR, who were not kicked out of Scarefest Weekend, by the way. They were allowed to make their money, sell their merch. I guess if you design the official shirts for a convention, you could just do whatever you want. It's free reign out here. Who knew the conventions were in the cotton grip of the shirt oligarchs? Garment mafia in the back end really pulling the strings. Of course, they get mad when you talk about big shirt. You know what really grinds my gears? That a third-party company would step in and make a rash decision, all because their long-standing contract got their knickers in a twist at a completely different convention. They're not even related or affiliated. All your comments were deleted anyway, so, who cares? Speaking of which, I wish I could show you the comments in that original thread because they were absolutely brutal. But alas, they are gone forever, sent to the internet graveyard while all good drama goes to die. Just another chapter of internet lore lost to time, like tears in the rain.
Time to die.
two are bad friends.
And so that leads us to present time. Don't Eat the Gum posted the original thread on Facebook, and the rest is history. So what about the other side? We've heard a lot from Wacky Wicks, from Scarefest, from Don't Eat the Gum, even other vendors. So what about our main antags, our bad boy couple from hell? Well, they haven't said anything really substantial, to be honest. After the initial drama hit Facebook, hit Boomer Book, VL and JR made most of their social private. As you can imagine, VL's Etsy is a ghost town.
You know what that sound means in Russia, Vern? Empty.
With her Insta being privated for now. Though her Facebook is still open to the public for some god-awful reason, and she's marked herself as a public person, all of her posts, even some that were posted years ago that are just of her and her family at like a pumpkin patch, are getting absolutely destroyed with people just trying to voice their opinions against these scare bullies. Listen, I get that you want to stick up for Wacky Wicks, but calling Violet's kids ugly is most definitely not true and definitely a step too far. Their kid is a toddler, for Jeebus' sake. So here's my take on all this. It's really unclear what actually happened at Horror Hound Indianapolis. What is clear is that a wall fell down, one person took it very personally and decided to take it out on another person. Do I think the wall was knocked down in malice? No, of course not. That's crazy. Do I think that maybe someone was just having a bad day and took it just a little too far? Well, I would say maybe, except then you reach out later, months later after the initial drama, and then you stop that person from making money. I don't see how you can justify that. As a fellow vendor, you know how important these shows are, how inconsistent the pay is when you choose to live this life. So to take that money away from someone else it's abhorrent. It's insane. Yeah, so what do I think they're going to do? VL and JR? Probably nothing. I think they're going to keep their heads down. Eventually this will blow over like all things do, and they'll go back to selling their stuff at cons. You know, and maybe that's a good thing. Sometimes you just got to move on. Truthfully, if you didn't stumble across this, you might have, and you should, you know, buy stuff from them because you don't know. I mean, but maybe it'll make other vendors wary of, I don't know. You know, you attacked one of your own. So while consumers might forget, the sellers won't, I think. So yeah, hard to say. Not like I'm saying anyone should retaliate against these two. I think you should let sleeping dogs lie. It's over for now. Yeah, you know, just leave it. Just leave everybody alone. You know, let's that's the takeaway. Just leave people alone. So that's about all I got on this whole steaming shit stew. So I'm putting this out to the community. I want to know if you were there on Sunday at Horror Hound Indianapolis and you saw this unfold. I would love to hear from you. Or if you were one of the parties directly involved, please reach out to me. I'd love to hear your side of the story. VL, JR, this goes out to you too. You've been getting dragged through the mud recently, and I want to hear your side of the story because as of right now, nobody has heard from you yet. Truthfully, I do. And if anybody reaches out and I get any cool tidbits or information, I'll make a part 2, but you know, more than likely, probably not. Well, that's it for me. I'll see you next time. RCC out.